What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 new most broken builds in part of Exile's 2 new update, the Dawn of the Hunt. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what skill gems and upgrades should you focus on, then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it, and then finally we will go over the passive skill tree, stats, your skill rotations, and even what charm should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. This setup is structured around using Contagion in combination with other chaos skills that will curse and explode enemies in very wide area. Overall, our main spammable skills have quite high mana cost to make it efficient, and that's why we are going to be using a wand like the Life Spring, which leeches percentage of max life when you cast spells. And on top of this, we can also use Asterisk Accuracy Gloves to get instant leech from our critical hits, so then this combination would completely remove the mana from equation and give us the ability to infinitely spam chaos skills and do massive amounts of damage without worrying about anything. The main gameplay idea behind our setup is to one-shot most enemies, and as they will die, they will continuously replenish our life and energy shield. However, for bosses, we will need to be careful, as not getting stun locked is our main priority, and that's why we will use a specific setup, such as putting the spare in our multiple skill slot and much more. So let me show you the build, and for the main class we are going with the Witch and our ascendancy is Lich. Then for the first skill we have Contagion with Unleash and Magnified Effect. Then second we got the Withering Presence with Persistence. Then next we got Essence Jane with Pierce, Swift Affliction and Profanity. Next we have Despair with Decaying Hex and Heightened Curse. Then for the next one we have Blasphemy with the Hex Bloom, Despair and Ritualistic Curse. Then next we got the Frost Bomb with Fast Forward and Spell Cascade. And finally, we're using Shield Charge with the Martial Tempo. Most of this setup is structured around using Contagion with the Essence Jane to delete enemies in split seconds, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their duration, size and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you're interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at the spell and minion damage node, and then go like this while taking these 3, so open mine, raw destruction and practice signs. Then next we keep on going to the left and get everything until the spiral into insanity. Then from here we circle back a little and keep on going until we get entropy, and then take right. Then when we are here we want to get all of these, so first up take the top side and then the bottom side, and then again keep on going until we get to the actual end and then take right. And when we get to here, then get both of these, so Dark Entries and the Patient Barrier. And now finally from here we can go down and get this whole left side, but usually at this point you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you prefer. All of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they are the most important ones to acquire early on in the game to make our build functional, and then later on the priority won't really matter that much. Also, as far as attributes go, you just simply want to fulfill your attribute requirements for gear and gems, and then after that spend the rest in intelligence. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for ascendancy build, this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the Soulless form. This offers substantial benefits. It will require careful balancing of life and energy shield values, and investing in energy shield is crucial, as it serves as a buffer that prevents life loss. However, if your energy shield is depleted, the bypass damage will affect your life, which makes it essential to manage both resources effectively. Then second we want the Eternal Life. When we combine this with the Soulless form, it will provide a robust defensive layer, by ensuring that your life remains unchanged as long as you have energy shield remaining. You will be able to take damage without compromising your life. Then third we want the Necromantic Condient. To effectively utilize this node, we need to invest into mana regeneration and max mana, and this will ensure that mana drain does not hinder our overall performance. If done properly, this setup can significantly increase our damage and give this one-shot AoE potential. And lastly we got Blackened Heart. Because of our already higher maximum mana, this will not only enhance the Unholy Might buff, but also support the other lich mechanics that scale with it. By using this 4-node combo we will do insane damage, but a significant mana drain could become an issue, and that's why you need to follow the specific gear setup. Next we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Lifespring Wand with the mana drain, max mana, increased cast speed, and the ability to leech percentage of max life whenever we cast a spell. You of course don't have to use this specific weapon if you can afford it, so in any case try to look for something similar. Then also we got an offhand Kaldi Antler Focus with energy shield, reduced attribute requirements, and more levels of all spell skills. Then for helmet we have the Jungle Tiara with energy shield, max life, max energy shield, and more to fire resistance. Then for chest we have the Anchorite Garb with evasion and energy shield. Then also more spirit, max life, and cold resistance. Then for belt we have the Rawhide Belt with increased life flask recovery, max life, and fire and lightning resistance. Then for gloves we got the Torn Gloves with energy shield, max life, and chaos resistance. Then for boots we are using the Silk Slippers with energy shield, increased movement speed, max mana, max life, and lightning resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Sapphire Ring with cold resistance, max life, more to intelligence, and more to cold resistance. While for the second one we have the Ruby Ring with more to fire resistance, max mana, max life, and lightning resistance. And then finally for amulet we have the Solar Amulet with more to spirit, max life, and chaos resistance. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is the best case scenario setup, which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. The core damage of our setup is Chaos, which we can use to deal devastation through toxic and cursed spells. You will need to focus on skills that deal Chaos damage over time, such as the Essence Chain, Contagion, and the Malice Burst. And then for defense, we will rely on Energy Shield, so you'll use Life Leech to convert Chaos damage into healing, which will allow you to stay alive during tough encounters. So, we want to start fights by casting Essence Chain that spreads Chaos damage over area, which applies a debuff that makes enemies explode on death, causing AoE damage to nearby enemies as well. We want to maximize its potential by scaling up damage and AoE efficiency. Then also we could use Malice Burst, which is a powerful burst of Chaos energy that can be used to hit multiple enemies at once, and it is perfect for clearing large groups of enemies quickly. And then finally we can finish it off with the Contagion that spreads Chaos damage over time to the enemies, and it's perfect for applying Chaos damage debuffs to the enemies before they die, which triggers cascading explosions. This setup is a fresh and powerful combination of the new Huntress Ascendancy and the lightning-based spear skills. We are going to be combining very high damage to create devastating zones that electrocute and trap enemies in a single place. Right now this setup is easily one of the fastest and most efficient options for mob farming and speed leveling. And as you can see from the gameplay, enemies are getting wiped out in a matter of seconds. Even bosses will not stand a chance, thanks to our high single target damage by spamming the Lightning Spear in the combination with the Storm Lance and our key buffs. However, at some point in the later game, some lower gear players might run into a mana problem. But lucky for us, the Huntress has many tools to address this problem, and with optimized gear we need nothing more than a single stat roll on our weapon or gear to completely solve this issue. So let me show you the build, and for the main class we are going with the Huntress and our ascendancy is Amazon. Then for the first skill we have Spear Stab with no support gems. Then second we got the Herald of Thunder with magnified effect and innervate. Then next we got Storm Lance with concentrated effect, lightning infusion, and primal armament. Next we have Lightning Spear with a scatter shot and Rising Tempest. Then for the next one we have the Sniper's Mark with persistence and profusion. Then next we got Barrage with premeditation and arcane tempo. Then next we got the Combat Frenzy with precision. And finally we are using Explosive Shot with overabundance and fire infusion. Most of this setup is structured around using the Lightning Spear with a Storm Lance to delete enemies in split seconds. So we use gems and skills that will support and increase their duration, size, and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you're interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we first of all want to start at this projectile damage node, and then go like this while taking all of these 4, such as the Honed Instincts, Eagle Eye, Blur, and the Vile Wounds. Next up we keep on moving forwards while grabbing these 2, so Sheathing Skin and the Escape Velocity. Then from here we want to go like this, and then take the Harness the Elements. And then from here just keep on going like this while selecting Catalysts and the Maiming Strike. Then when we get to this endpoint, then from here we want to first of all take the whole bottom left side. And then after that is done, then just go up to the top and get all of these nodes. And in order in which you do it doesn't really matter that much. All of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they're the most important ones to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then later on the priority won't really matter that much. Also, as far as attributes go, you just simply won't fulfill your attribute requirements for gear and gems, and then after that spend the rest in dexterity. And then now, let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build, this is what we have. So at the beginning, you want to unlock the Elemental Infusion. This will empower the Amazon to become a Kandian for raw elemental forces, especially lightning, by focusing on agility, precise strikes, and devastating elemental effects. Then second, we want the Critical Strike. This will transform us into a precision-based assassin, by relying on high crit chance, deadly multipliers, and a rapid execution. It will be all about striking fast, striking true, and making every hit potentially lethal. And unlike the brute force builds, the crit Amazon will thrive on calculated defense, so you'll be stacking crit chance, crit multipliers, and attack speed to turn even basic spear skills into a very high DPS attacks. Then next we want Infused Avatar. This will combine body and energy into one seamless force. This Ascendancy is all about adaptive elemental empowerment, giving you very quick boosts called infusions, which are based on your skill usage, movement, and combat rhythm. All of this will result in a fast and responsive build that constantly will shift between powerful elemental modes. And then finally, for our fourth option, we want Penetrate. Whether it's elemental resistances, armor, evasion, or energy shields, this will give us a massive damage boost. The Penetrate Ascendancy is not just about damage, it's about ensuring that your damage always lands. So because of this, we will thrive on debuffing, piercing, and breaking defenses, which makes it ideal for dealing consistent, high-value hits in both fast-paced and long boss fights. Next we have gear. The weapon of our choice is the Helix Spear with the accuracy rating, increased physical damage, increased attack speed, and more levels of all projectile skills. Then also we got an offhand called the Lycos Side Shield, and from this we get bunch of armor, increased block chance, our accuracy is doubled, and when blocking we deal extra damage to enemies. However, this unique is not required, and if you can afford it or get it, then any normal shield will work as well, just try to look for something similar. Then for helmet we have the Trapper Hood with evasion, accuracy rating, dexterity, and fire resistance. Then for chest we have the Shrouded Vest with evasion, max life, and chaos resistance. Then for belt we have the Long Belt with increased charm duration, max life, and cold fire and chaos resistance. Then for gloves we got the Barbed Braces with evasion, accuracy, then even more evasion, more to all elemental resistances, and chaos resistance. Then for boots we're using the Lace Boots with evasion, increased movement speed, even more evasion, and cold resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Emerald Ring with accuracy, dexterity, and fire resistance, while for the second one we have the Topaz Ring with bunch of lightning resistance. And then finally for amulet we have the Bloodstone Amulet with max life, increased rating, and increased rarity of items found. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is the best case scenario setup, which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. So our rotation is quite simple, but you will need to get used to it. What we want to do is first of all engage enemies by casting the Storm Lance to establish damaging zones, then follow that up with the Lightning Spear to pierce through and finish off huge amount of targets. This combination allows for very fast clearing of maps and efficient leveling. And also against bosses, the high single target damage from the Lightning Spear, enhanced by the Stormlance's persistent damage, will ensure the same quick takedowns as with AoE mobs. However, as I mentioned at the start, in the later stages of the game, some players might encounter mana sustainability issue. But lucky for us, Amazon will offer a bunch of tools to address this, and with optimized gear such as items with mana leech or reduced mana cost modifiers, this issue can be effectively resolved. And thanks to our Ascendancy and passive tree scaling, our most important skill, the Lightning Spear, will become a rapid fire projectile of death. He will pierce, crit often, and synergize perfectly with a shock effect to ramp up your damage in few seconds. Most of the enemies won't survive more than a second or two once you've combined both of our skills. And for trash monsters, it's all about speed. So just run, cast Stormlance mid-stride, and toss few lightning spears to clear entire screens. The build's high mobility makes it perfect for fast mapping, and it is ideal for both league starters and experienced players that are trying to rush endgame content. This setup is known as the Lightning Arrow build, which is currently one of the best and fastest setups that you can use to farm maps and other endgame content. Like you can see from the gameplay, we are basically deleting enemies in split seconds. And on top of this, we can also delete bosses, by us having also a very high boss damage by using the cast on shock and the ball lightning. At some point in the later game, some lowered gear players might run into a mana problem, but lucky for us, the ranger has many tools to address this problem. And with the optimized gear, we need nothing more than a single stat roll on our weapon or the gear to completely solve this issue. So if you like using only 2 skills and completely speedrunning through the hundreds of enemies in few seconds, then let's get right into it. So let me show you the build, and for the main class I have chosen to go with the ranger, and our ascendancy is the dead eye. Then for the first skill we have the lightning arrow, and for our support gems we want to go with the martial tempo, ice bite, cold infusion and primal armament. Then second we got the lightning rod with the scatter shot, concentrated effect, conduction and the rising tempest. Next we got the herald of the thunder with the lightning infusion and the lightning penetration. Next we have the Herald of the Ice with cold penetration, magnified effect and the elemental focus. Next we are also using the Wind Dancer with the blind. Next we have the Orb of Storm with the chain, unleash, overabundance and the persistence. Then we got the cast on shock with the ball lightning, deceleration, inspiration and the impetus. And finally for the last one we got the voltaic mark with persistence, inner weight and the lightning mastery. Most of this build is structured around using the lightning arrow and the lightning rod to instantly shot his DPS lightning projectiles, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their area and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guides. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at this projectile damage node and go like this until we get the honed instincts and the vile wounds. Then next we want to keep on moving to get this entire thing, and mainly we want to aim for the master fletching and disharness the elements. Then from here we want to get back at this point and then keep going down like this, and then when the path splits, then now we want to go to the left bottom. So let's make our way like this, and then finally we want to get both these lightning nodes, so the lightning rod and the flash storm. Then from here we want to circle back and go to the top right side and get the mental toughness and the other mana regen nodes that will help us with the potentially low mana. And then finally from this point and onwards you can unlock all the rest of the nodes in whatever order you prefer. All of the nodes that we got are important, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority as they're the most important to acquire early on in the game to make our build functional, and then in the late game to make it even more powerful. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for our ascendancy build this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the gathering winds, then second get the projectile proximity specialization with the point blank option, then next get the endless munition, and then finally we want to select the wind ward. And also preferably we want to get 1 mana on kill jewel, or at least get the mana on kill on the quiver. And next up we have our atlas passives, and the general idea behind this is to aim for bonus passives that spawn a lot of grouped up monsters, such as in expeditions or the rituals. Also our lightning ranger has a very strong single target damage, so farming boss maps or essences is also a good option. So when we start we want to first of all get to the bottom left side like this, then now we want to go to the top right side and get all of these passives. And then finally from here you want to go to the top middle part and get the rest of the passives in no particular order. Then next we have our gear, and for this build you only need about 100 spirit. The weapon of our choice is the expert dual string bow. This is the most important item that we have, so look for the highest cold or physical damage bow that you can get your hands on. Also lightning damage is a good option as well, but for sure you want to avoid fire damage. Generally I would value additional arrows over a 50 DPS increase, so keep that in mind. And then for bonus stats, we want the bow attacks to fire an additional arrow, then physical damage increase, more lightning damage, or plus extra levels to all projectile skills. Next we also have the offhand called the primed quiver, and good stats to look for are the cold or physical damage, increased damage with the bow skills, attack speed, dexterity, projectile speed, level of all projectile skills, and mana on kill. And generally this is the place where we want at least one source of mana on kill, to reduce our low mana against bosses. Then for the helmet we have the advanced Celt helm with armor and evasion, and for bonus stats we want more armor, more evasion, max life and cold resistance. And it's very important to reach 75% resistance in all 4 stats, so try to get as much of that as possible on your gear. Then for the chest we have the expert studded vest with a lot of evasion. Yes, I chose to sacrifice life for more evasion, and this will give us a lot more utility, especially in the endgame. And then for the extra stats we want max life, more evasion and fire resistance. Then for the belt we have the utility belt that recovers our flask 20% quicker. And then for bonus stats we want more max life, and any other resistances like lightning or chaos. Then for gloves we got the advanced doubled gauntlets with armor and evasion, and for extras we want max life, chaos and fire resistance. Then for boots we're using the advanced embossed boots with evasion. And for more we 100% want to get as high movement speed as possible and also cold resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Thief's Torment, and here I want to give you a huge disclaimer. So if at the start of this build you're struggling with mana, then this one ring can completely solve it because of the 15 mana gain per each hit, so we will basically never run out of it. But as it is a quite expensive ring, so you can go for other rings as well. This Thief's Torment is only needed for bosses, so usually use different rings for mapping. It's the only source of mana on hit in the game, so without the ring you will instantly run out of mana on the boss. You don't really need it in the lower tier Waystones, but once you get to the top tier, then you will most likely need it. So try to get it before most other players find out about it. And then on the second one we got the Sapphire Ring with cold resistance. And for more bonuses we want max life and chaos resistance. And then finally for the amulet we got the Stellar Amulet, which gives us more to all attributes. And for extras we want to get more to spirit. Overall for this build I recommend to get 95 intelligence for the ball lightning and the cast on shock. Plus I have a level 11 gem for the ball lightning and also a level 11 for a cast on shock. Of course these gems can be a higher level, but then it will require more intelligence, so getting them to level 11 I found it to work the best. And now finally let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. And as you can see from the gameplay, this is one of the most powerful but easiest and simplest builds in the game. So our main rotation is just to use the lightning arrow and the lightning rod, or easy to kill monsters, which are most of our targets. But then specifically for bosses you can then place down the Orb of Storms and spam the lightning rod and cast the volatile mark. This will give you a great buff against the boss and insane amount of shock lightning damage for the single target. On top of this, if you're a new player, then some mechanics may seem a bit weird, so let me quickly explain. If your lightning rod or the cast on shock is not working, then either way try to self-cast the volatile mark, and then place down the Orb of Storms, or perhaps after your volatile mark is out and the Orb of Storms, then only then start spamming the lightning rod. Also, if you're low level and you can't use the cast on shock, then you need to put a skill gem in that skill, or the game itself won't allow you to get the effect. And then finally, if you're low geared and run into a mana problem, especially against bosses, then try to get one Jewel with the mana on kill, or mana on kill from our quiver. For most players, there's no real way to solve mana for bosses, until you get the Thief's Torment ring, but using simple strategies may help as well. This might sound obvious, especially at the beginning, when you might not have yet unlocked the mana on kill, but if you run out of mana then you just simply want to cast less skills and wait. You'll be doing very high damage anyways, so casting few less skills won't really impact the gameplay that much, but it may reduce your mana consumption, especially if you're undergeared or underleveled.